Welcome to AfridaNews once more. We are here in the youth segment where we have discussions about hot button issues with the youth of AfridaNews. Today we have in the studio
Elita
Duona and I am Shika Awuno. Today our topic is youth unemployment, which is a very, very hot topic, not only in Ghana, but throughout the continent of Africa, where I believe the statistics are very high. Earlier on, we were able to find statistics that indicated that for the year 2022, the youth unemployment was 9.59%. Ohini, do you think that is a true reflection of what is actually happening on the ground?
No, absolutely not. Because day in and out, you see youth on the street and graduates who are seeking for job opportunities, but then they're unable to find out. So when you look at the numbers, I don't think the statistics tally with it.
How about you?
I also don't think they are getting all the numbers. Maybe they are only taking records of the students who have passed through universities, because that is what they have to give. So yeah, that's what.
So what do you think is a truer picture of the rate of unemployment among the youth in Ghana?
Well, it goes far beyond the 9.59%. So roughly, probably about 30 to 35%.
Wow.
I think.
So
Yes.
why do you think there's so many youth who are qualified because of their education are not finding jobs after their educational training?
I think that's because there are not as many jobs as there are the youth available. So some are able to get into jobs after they finish school, and others would have to either stay home and find their own paths or find different avenues to enter in, which maybe may not tally with what they learned in school, but then because they need a job, they just have to fall in line.
So, Ohini, who do you think is responsible for creating jobs in Ghana?
Well, I think there are people, okay, or there are a group of people involved. So first, the government. Yes, the government is the number one, the ultimate, because they are there to serve citizens, especially the youth. The future of the country depends on them. So I think in the first hand is the job of the government, the responsibility of the government to, set up jobs for the youth. And then the youth themselves, at least those who have the entrepreneurial spirit, they can come up with something for themselves after school. Or maybe those who don't even get the opportunity to go to school from other training institutions, they can also come up with something for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about the private sector?
Well, for the private sector, just like I said, those with the entrepreneurial spirit, yes, you can set up your own business and then even employ people to also work for you. Yes. So by so doing, we are also building towards reducing the rate of unemployment in the country.
Okay. Anita, do you have anything to add to the point of the responsibility, where the responsibility lies for job creation?
I think he has said most of it. Yes, it's the job of the government to create job opportunities, because Ghana and majority of African countries are still developing. So obviously we need factories and industries that will help us take our raw products and turn it into something that we can sell or to earn revenue. So making those industries, so obviously you need to employ people.
Mm-hmm.
So employing the youth into those industries would cut down the number of people who aren't employed. And also, as he says, the people who have the urge to be entrepreneurs should actually take advantage of it and start up businesses, which will in turn employ their fellow youth.
So why is there such a huge gap? Earlier Ohini was telling us that the 9.59% is not a true reflection of the actual unemployment levels.
Yes.
So why that discrepancy? Why that big gap?
Well, okay, I think one of the reasons for the gap is because most often, I'm speaking for Ghanaians who are the youth who are fortunate to, go through the university education. So you realize that sometimes they do courses. The courses they do, they study, they come out, and then the job in relation to that course is not available. So sometimes they have to do other top-up courses for another year or two before they're able to get a job, okay, in relation to that. Yeah, so I think that is why there's that huge gap. Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
I think mostly is because people have the mindset of being employed by the government. You go to school to learn a particular course, and with the intent in mind that when I come out of school, either I'll get a government job or a private company would employ me. So if you have dozens and dozens of people with that same mindset, it means there's a large number of people who aren't going to get jobs, and people will sit at home waiting for jobs or blaming someone else. But we can actually take advantage of that situation and learn other skills, because majority of the job posters you see around are looking for people with work experience. So even if you are not employed by the government, that time you can use to learn a skill or get that particular work experience, and that could land you an even better job.
Okay. So I understand that the government should be doing certain things. I also understand that there are some things that are some initiatives that the government has taken in order to help the youth in particular to, one, create their own jobs, start their own businesses, employ each other if possible. What are some of these programs? Are you aware of any of these programs? I know, for instance, I visited the Ghana Export Promotion Agency, and there's a whole desk, a place where you can sit down, the youth can, take advantage of the resources they have, from helping you to develop your products, to getting FDA certification, and eventually it is headed towards the youth coming up with products that can benefit from the AFTA, the Africa Continental Trade Area and Agreement. So are you aware of anything, such government programs?
Oh, yes. I think TVET, the training in the vocational institutions, although they are not enough, at least the government is trying to make sure that it's going to, provide people, who are into sewing and other, technical stuff, so that the government is going to provide, teaching and learning for them, so that they can be able to, if not gain employment, at least they're able to start something for themselves and then for their families. So yes, that is one of the initiatives that the government has, kept in place.
You mean vocational training?
Yes, the vocation. But then it all boils down to just like Elita said, the mindset. And then the education involved. So how many people even know about this? How many parents even, will guide their children to enter into a vocational institute or something? Because they all want the white collar jobs, and now it's becoming difficult. So yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Okay, I also know of some incentives that have been put in place to encourage youth to actually create their own jobs. So I know that if you are a youth and you want to start a job in ICT or agriculture outside the regional capital of Ghana, you get a 5-year tax holiday, which means that while you are starting your business, you don't get to pay tax, or you pay very, very little. So it doesn't really affect you. You are able to set up the business, able to stand on its feet, and then you are able to start paying tax like a citizen.
After 5 years?
Yes, after 5 years.
So that's a positive incentive.
Yes, that's also a positive incentive. There are also capital schemes by the government that people can go for a loan as a capital for their businesses. I think banks also do things, but people are scared to go for it because of the interest rates and the collateral. So majority of the times, I think government should be the safe space that people can actually go to for those funds to start their businesses.
Okay, so what happens to somebody who is not in the agricultural field, for example, or who doesn't have a product that is exportable or a service that is even exportable beyond our borders to even take advantage of the AFTA, for example? Okay. What happens in that? For instance, somebody who is studying communications, or something that requires employment by somebody. What happens in that scenario? Well, as a young person?
As a young person, I still think that you should try, and as much as possible, find something for yourself. Because the number of communication organizations in Ghana, they are many. But then yes, so you realize that the people, the youth who are unemployed, there are communication students still inside there. Which, that should tell you something, that maybe they're looking for a particular, peculiar people. Yes, exactly. So if you are not meeting that criteria, again, you can search for courses or study shortcut courses so that you end up familiarizing yourself with them, and then you rebrand yourself and come out on the job market. Yeah.
So I also think that as a youth who is studying communications, you shouldn't be rigid that I'm studying communications, so I want to follow in the line of a journalist. There is customer relations. You can go and be a customer relations person, or you can become a public relations person, or you can even become an article writer, a paraphraser. It's so diverse. Mm-hmm. So you shouldn't really learn communications for a particular job path. So if you're learning communications, you can learn all sides. You can learn the customer relations part. You can learn how to write articles, how to read articles. Some people even employ people just to paraphrase their works for them, to proofread. There's a lot of things that's into communications. So if you are flexible enough, I don't think there's anywhere you go and you won't find something to do.
Exactly.
And also, to add to what Alita said, I think we are in the modern world. We really need to make use of the internet. Yes. So some of these paraphrasing and then the proofreading, translating jobs, they're all online. Okay. Just that with most of them, the downside is you need PayPal in order to get paid, which Ghana, PayPal doesn't yet support Ghana. So yes. So that is a downside to it. Other than that, I think the internet would have been the best. But then there are still some few others. I think Fiverr and some other ones. You can, as a communication student, you can put yourself out there, and people will just be hitting you with cakes here and there, and you can help.
So in spite of your excellent advice and about diversifying your skills and, not being stuck to one track, but, opening yourself up to other possibilities, in spite of that advice, the youth unemployment is still continuing to be quite high. Now, one of the things that I noticed or that we've read about is that there's a certain desperation in the system, where young people have been lured. I heard of one very bizarre story, one of the television stations, which will go unmentioned, lured young people to come and give some sperm donations in exchange for, it's difficult for me to say, sperm donation in exchange for money. Sperm for cash, yes. Basically. So, and I hear lots of people went over there, and don't you think, from me, when I heard that story, I said, a lot of these youth must be very lazy. There's some laziness in the system too. So what do you think about that? I mean, what does that tell you? What does that scenario tell you?
Well, you see, Ghanaian youth are not lazy. When you there's according to statistics in the US, one of the most hardworking immigrants in the US, they are Ghanaians. You see that thing? Ghanaian youth, we are not lazy. It's just that the job opportunities are not there. And
hold that thought. Yes. Don't say anything yet. I want to say to you that the Ghanaian youth that may go abroad to go and work may have a totally different work ethic than the Ghanaian youth that is here, where their parents are. If they're hungry, they can traipse into their parents' home at lunchtime. You know what I mean? There is
comfort.
There is a certain comfort
yes.
level, so that when the immigrant travels, he knows why he traveled. So then you will have a different work ethic as opposed to some of the youth that we would find here. So I didn't say that to sort of. I wanted to throw that in to let you know that I've experienced some youth that are not lazy, but some that are quite lazy. Okay. Why would somebody get up and go and form a queue just to do such a thing? I mean, what do they have to do to get the whatever they have to do to get the sperm? It boggles my mind.
Well, you see, Ghanaians, especially with the youth, you know. The youth, okay. You see, I think why this happened is because most of the youth have been at home. Mm-hmm. And then the few ones that have jobs is stressing for them. And you know, I mean, who would you want to make, you know, quick? Exactly.
Me.
Exactly. So you imagine being at home, searching for job, you know, looking for job, writing application upon application for like years. And then all of a sudden you hear this desperation, and you've been desperate for so long. I'm sure your parents have even been telling you, do this, you start cutting bread, you're saying you're making noise, you do this, you know, also, you know. So as long as you hear this, oh, okay, then I'm interested. Without the risk or anything, you see.
But it's a one-time 2,000, it's not a job.
Oh, no.
Is it?
Yes, you can do it as many as. Someone said you wanted to bring the 4 gallons so that they can fill it up. How much would that cost? So, yeah, so, you know, it's. How much is 2,500 Ghana cedis? Within a week, you know, you can finish a half. So, some did want to make it there for them, sure.
Well, do you have any thoughts on this, Mike?
I think it's basically the youth mindset of quick cash, because you grow up with, because majority of us feel like we are in a race. You go to university with this group of people, and then you come out of the school and this person has gotten a job, this person has traveled abroad, this person is already married, and you feel left behind. So everybody has something to say about themselves, but you're home for 5-6 years, and you have nothing to say, and then you hear of this opportunity to make money. So obviously, maybe it's just like the desperation for quick cash, because maybe the person just wanted that money for like a one-time thing to start something else. But
yeah. I can imagine. So imagine on that line, the queue that you meet your friends and you're like, Charlie, you know. Anyway, so I think it's an indictment on our system and on our whoever is responsible for creating the conditions that would create more jobs to absorb the number of students. I was in our pre-studio conversation, we were talking about, I was telling you about how my dad, maybe in the way before you guys were even a thought, you know, they came out of university, out of Legon, and I think at that time there was only Legon. There were about 300 students or 300 graduates at the time of independence, university graduates. Yeah. Don't quote me on this, but somewhere around that. And I remember before he was 30, before my father was 30, he was already director at film industries, the Ghana Film Industries. And that tells you that there was a huge demand for graduates and an oversupply of jobs. Yes. He came out, got a job, got a car, got a bungalow in cantonments. I mean, you cannot imagine. And yet right now, several decades later, we are seeing the opposite, where there's a glut of university graduates and a huge shortage of jobs. And I think that is a challenge to our country, to our private sector, to our youth, especially those who have the entrepreneurial spirit. And I believe that it behooves the youth to also find out what are some of the resources that are available to them to help them make something of themselves. Because there are so many fantastic examples of people who went into agriculture. There's a young man who went into agriculture and now he's exporting rice. And it's one of the top grade rice made in Ghana, which is fantastic.
I also heard of a lady who went into agriculture and she started growing mushrooms. Now she owns her own company and she has employed other people to grow the mushrooms with her.
Some also, go into the animal rearing, yes, pigs, and chickens and all that. They are making quite decent cash.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, I want to talk about government jobs. Is it true that female graduates, are more likely to be employed by government, into government jobs, the public sector, than males? What do you think, Anita?
For me, I can't really say, but yes, maybe there's a likelihood that females are employed more than males. But if I was an employer, I'll pick who has the most qualities and is fit for the job. But if females are employed more than males, I think maybe it's an incentive to promote the girl-child education, like to help them come out of school, to show that yes, the girl can also be employed to do a particular job which once before wasn't done by girls in Ghana.
So that's the noble side. Don't you think there's some chauvinism in there?
I'd rather not say.
What do you think?
Well, I think, it depends with the type of job. Yes, it depends with the type of job. Some jobs, I don't know if this is the mindset talking, but some jobs, are tailored to males and then some are tailored to females. Okay, let me give you a scenario. There was this one time I ordered an Uber, and then when the car showed up, it was, a lady. For a second, it struck me. I was like, this is strange. But I was like, feminism. Let me just you see, but then I entered, and then it was one of the best rides I've ever had. She started talking to me.
Be careful.
She started talking. So yes, although, like, when you look at it, these driving, and there are some job trends that, is if
okay, so you are talking in general. You're talking in general.
Yes.
So I want to look at the specifics of the public sector. For instance, the Ministry of Information, they are looking for people to be, I don't know, editors or typesetters or something, some administrative assistants and blah, blah, blah. And do you think that the chances are they would employ girls more than they would employ boys?
Well, you see, sometimes that will not even be the whole point of it. But then you look at certain things and then, you'll be like, okay, then it would be much better if you hire this person or that. But then the main focus was to hire the person who qualifies for the job. That is always the underlying factor. But then, again, certain things can also come inside. So I think as to who gets the job or who doesn't get the job, it's always the best person. Yeah. But then certain things also come into it. Yeah.
I think it can also be because of maybe either the employer's experience with past workers or their particular, belief that, okay, this job that I want to employ people, I want a female to do it because maybe that female has that particular touch of connection with people that she can talk to, or maybe the male has that kind of logical thinking that he can do the work directly without letting feelings or things come between. So it's the employer's preference too.
So how about the notion that some people don't want to employ girls because they think in 2-3 years they've invested in this worker, trained her, taken her to all kinds of things, then she gets married, she's pregnant, and her productivity goes down, and then on top of it you have to pay for her maternity leave and all that. So how about that aspect of it?
Well, I think, mindset is very, very important. The reason why most Ghanaians, believe this is the fact that, people have started talking about it. Oh, ladies, women, when you employ them, this and that, this and at the end of the day, you end up doing this and that. But then, if we want to move, continue developing as a country, you need to consider some of these things. Women are more than that. They are so much more. Okay, there are some things women. What a man can do, a woman can do. Yes,
and better.
Yes, and better. Exactly. Then Dr. Agbetu said that if you educate a man, you've educated an individual. But for a woman, it's a whole, and it's so true.
Finish the
If you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you've educated the whole nation. You see, the kind of impact women have is so abundant. So I think that is one of the mindsets that we really need to do away with, and then give women the room to operate. Yes, once we do that, the economy, I'm sure we can find our way there.
On that note, I want to segue into the final part of our discussion, where earlier on also we talked about, we're talking about population growth.
Okay.
And there are studies that talk about how you can control the population, because I think it was you who mentioned that the population explosion also creates a situation where jobs cannot keep up with the number of kids that are coming out of schools and so on. So that population explosion, there are statistics that show that the more educated a woman is, the less number of kids she would have. So Cuba, for instance, has been able to curtail their population growth. The correlation between the rate of education that they have and the populations, yes, there's a correlation between the two. So the more educated the people, the less children they have. And therefore, the services that the state can provide or that can be provided for goes around a lot more. What are your thoughts on this, Elita?
I think it's actually true, because...
And bring it into the Ghanaian context.
Yeah, so you educate a Ghanaian woman, she knows more, she understands herself, she understands what she's going to, as she grows up, she's going to get married. And basically, an educated woman would know how to manage her things. So I grew up, I'm in a family where, based on my husband's finances and ours together, I know that we can support maybe 2 children. So we put measures in place to be able to support those 2 children and take them to the highest level of education that they wish to find. But I actually agree with what he said, that when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Because I, for instance, I'm doing communications, but because of my mother, I know tidbits about taxation, and it was not even in relation.
Is she a taxer?
She's a retired GRA person. So she has taught me quite a number of things about taxation and GRA and a lot of things, which I wouldn't have learned if I was just going through communications line.
You wouldn't have learned if your father was
So, please, I speak on behalf of all fathers. Fathers teach their kids, actually. But for instance, my dad is a pharmacist.
So now you're negating.
No, not that. But my dad is a pharmacist, and as I'm here now, I know certain things, some drugs, yes. So yes, I mean,
so let's talk a little bit about this agri thing and how it works out in terms of educating a female child and educating the nation.
Yes.
As opposed to educating a man and educating an individual. We'll go back to what we're talking about and then we'll finish up.
Okay. So in terms of agri?
No, she said because her mother is a tax person who worked at the GRA, she knows some things about. Do you think that's what Agri was trying to say?
Yes. Oh, yes. Because women, like I said earlier on, women are so much impactful. When it's coming to making impact, women, tend to make the best impact. That is why when you critically look at it, even in the Ghanaian settings, women are made to take care of, children because of that patience. They have the patience. Men, we just want to,
Oh, you were talking for your father.
Oh yes, yes. Like there are some things, that patience, men really don't have that much patience, because I've spent some time with my nephews, and oh my God. And after the first few hours, I just called my brother's wife and my sister-in-law, and I told her that you really try, because I can't. But then, like, she knows how to tell them this, do that, do this. And my mom is also a headmistress, so homeschooling, I received homeschooling early, yes. So she taught me how to read and all that. Yes, that has also been impactful to me. But that doesn't mean that my dad also didn't, have an impact.
Okay. So let me go back to her, let her finish her thoughts on why, educating a woman is what would bring down the population, what can bring down the population explosion or control population growth to a certain extent.
Okay.
So the educated woman probably would take the step forward to further educate her children.
Not probably, most certainly.
Most certainly will take the step forward to educate her children, and the cycle goes on and on and on. So passing that down, everybody knows how much they can hold, how much they can contain. And so the government is able to provide jobs for maybe the next few generations that are coming, because they are not in, how do I put it, in overflow.
There's not an oversupply of graduates as opposed to jobs.
Yes.
Thank you. So, any final thoughts on that?
Well, I also will look at it from this angle that, the more, when you educate women more, the development is, is quicker, and then it's faster. And then the population exploration, it's a bit
control.
Exactly. It's to tell you how in charge women are. Okay. Because yes, childbirth is not an easy thing, and it's the woman, So if the woman is able to tell herself that, yes, I've read this, I know that, so I'm going to, give birth to 1, 2, and this is going to be enough for me. You realize that she will do that with everything planned in terms of feeding, the expenditure, and everything. So by doing, you realize that this population explosion, and then the good, yes, so everything will just be,
better.
Yes, everything will just be better.
Wonderful. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. There you have it. The thoughts of our youth on employment or unemployment in Ghana. Thank you, and see you next time.